Day today. I'm going to call it Lemon Day, even though we did some lemon stuff a couple weeks ago. But I'd like to welcome you into my kitchen. My name's George Geary, and I do cooking classes online about 6:30, since I can't go around the country like I normally do. And those of you who have never seen me in your whole life, you just never know where I'll pop up, because I've got morning shows down in San Diego. Sometimes I'm at Home and Family over at Hallmark, and sometimes Tampa. And today I'm here in the kitchen, and we're going to do a lemon curd tart. I'm going to teach you how to do lemon curd. I watch other people do it, and I liked how one time, probably about 5 years ago, I was watching something online, and it was our favorite Martha, and she was like, this is the perfect lemon tart, and the lemon curd, how I make it is perfect. And then I watched her and I thought, not the way I do it. I'm not saying mine's perfect, but I give you reasons on why I do it a certain way. And I was trained French, so it was Jean-Pierre that taught me how to do it. And speaking of France, I should be in France this week teaching, but we're kind of homebound for a little bit. Next week we're doubling up, so if you're interested in going to France with me, let me know. And before we get started, we have to acknowledge our cameraman, Neil. And I promise Neil will be in front of the camera one day. In fact, I think I might let him cook, and I will try to coach him. That might be funny. So, here we've got a sweet tart dough. Now, I've made this before on camera. I'm going to do it again, just in case you didn't catch it. And I'm going to make two 6-inch tart pans. And I'm going to show you how I put the tart dough in here. And this is not a savory, this is sweet tart dough. These pans are ones that you don't put in the dishwasher. You have to dry them in the oven. So after you wash them. In bakeries, we have these and we never wash them. We just stack them up and keep using them. So these I do wash because I don't use them every single day. So you're going to use a food processor, and we have cold butter. We've got sugar, flour, and salt, and we're using all-purpose flour. Now, the difference between a tart, oven's ready, between a tart and a pie crust. A tart has egg yolks to have stability. A pie you serve in the pan. A tart you don't serve in the pan. You take it out. So what we're going to do is the crust. Then I'll do the lemon curd. And while I'm making the lemon curd, we'll have the tart in the oven. So we will be doing a filled pie after it comes out of the oven, or tart, I mean. So we use our food processor in this. Now, Neil's going to do close-ups of the food processor too, because I will watch people on television do this, and the part that I see is when we get it all together, they'll say, oh, until it forms a ball. And you'll see it goes too far if you do it that way. So we're going to take our sugar, our salt, and our flour, lock that in, and just pulse it a couple times to blend it. Now we're going to take and put our cold butter. Now we don't take the whole big block of butter. We take it and we chop it up, and it is cold. We put it around our work bowl. We kind of help our food processor. And after we do this around the work bowl, we're going to turn this and pulse it 10 times. Just the pulse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we'll look inside, and we'll see if we have big chunks of flour. We still have a few chunks of butter. So I'm going to do it a couple more. You know what, I think I do it 20 times, not 10. So, there it is. Now we have egg yolks and a little bit of water. We don't need the egg whites. So, we just put that. Now this is the part where everybody does it too much. So we're going to turn it on completely. And you're going to start seeing it gather, but that's about it. We don't want it to melt the butter in there. You'll start seeing it start to gather. And you'll hear the sound will change. Do you hear it sounding different? Now let's look at it. So right there is about ready. Some will think it's too soon, but it's done. Okay? Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is warm up the dough with the palms of our hands a little bit. You have to have a surface, and you clean the surface down. Now if I keep going in the food processor, it'll be too far gone. Now, I start here, kind of keep it in a square. Palm of my hand, I'm going to smooth it. You see how I'm doing that? Take a little bit at a time, going forward. And there's some dry, don't worry about it. Just like that. Smooth this out. And bring it back together and smooth it in the little particles, just like that. And then it will be perfect. Some people will think it's too dry. It's perfect. Like that. Bring it together. If you keep going, you can see how it comes together. Just like that. The heat of your hand, just that little bit of hand heat. Just like that. Okay, so now we're done. Now, what I do is put it in a log, or kind of a flatness, like this. And there is our tart dough. Now, a lot of, now this is the part where I was trained French that far, now I'm going American. I'm doing it my way. I have seen where you take half of this, okay, because we're going to guesstimate, have that, refrigerate it, then get a rolling pin after it's hardened up, and try to roll it out and have it fit in here. And it kind of works and doesn't, but a lot of people are afraid of rolling pins with this stuff. So what I'm going to do is go around the edges first. So I'm going to take a little piece, press it on the edges, and not really worry about the thickness or anything, going around the edge. So, you see that okay?
That's my cue.
Oh, that's your cue. So I'm going around the edge, making sure I've got the dough in here. And it can be a little crumbly, but if it's not holding together, then you have a problem, but that's fine. Just like that, and just like that. All right, so I've gone around the edge. Now at this point, I'm gonna take my knuckle and go in to the corner to press that corner in. This doesn't have anything in it yet, in the dead center. So I go into the corner, like that. Now this will make a 12-inch also, or about, whoops, kind of messed that side up, or a 112, or about 6 to 8 3-inches ones. So there we go. Now here I'm going to take my bench scraper. You can take a knife also, but go away from it, because you don't want to get pieces of the metal pan in your dish. So I go away. This way I can see how thick the edges are, see? You can see the thickness. Now, this is how much I have left for the center, which I won't need all of it, but press this together. Now, a pie crust, you'd never do this, because a pie crust would lose the flakiness, and this, we don't worry about flakiness. And we're gonna make this about even. A little bit more. Make sure the whole thing so you don't see any metal. And just like that. And there's our tart shell. Now, we're going to put this into the oven. But before we put it in the oven, we've got a way of we prick it on the bottom. Now, I will have, let's say, a pumpkin pie. Somebody will call me or text me and say, I made a pumpkin pie and I pricked the crust and it didn't work. Well, you don't do that. Think of how the pie is going to be. You're going to only use this shell empty and baked, and that for a lemon meringue or a custard pie, not a custard pie, but cream pie. So then you have to prick it and this gets baked. Don't prick it if you're going to put fruit in it, because think of the pumpkin pie. I prick it, I put the pumpkins in it, and it gets between the crust and the pan when it bakes, and then I have an upside down pumpkin pie. Then you call it something else. You continue baking it and put it in little parfait glasses. So you want to prick this all around. Now, I do not use pie weights because in bakeries they aren't allowed in the state of California. A pie weight, they're little BBs almost, and those can get into the food and somebody can eat it. And then it wrecks their teeth and you get sued. So we just do this, and halfway through the baking process, I will look and see if it's popped up. But you can see, just like that. And you have to prick it 92 times, so make sure you count 92 times.
What if you use a 3-prong fork or a 4-prong fork?
Oh, then it's only 64 times if you do a 4-prong. No, I had somebody in class, they were writing so, and they got to, and they were so intense with the class, and I like to have a lot of fun, and I said, you have to prick it 42 times, and she's writing, was that 41 or 42? And everybody else knew what we were talking about. So anyway, I'll do the next one, and I'll put it on a sheet pan and bake it until they both are golden brown. And when they come out and they cool, we'll fill it with our lemon curd. But next, I'm gonna put this while we're gone, and then I'll come back and we'll make some lemon curd real quick. Okay, our tart crusts are both in the oven. And we're gonna make lemon curd. And like I told you, I watch lemon curd all the time. It's one of those things where I think I can always improve, but I still haven't found anybody that makes it better than this and the reasoning for it. So I'll go into a lot of detail on our 4 ingredients that we have. We have egg yolks, fresh lemon juice, granulated sugar, and butter, unsalted. I don't have any salt in this. I don't want any salt. I want to taste the tartness of the lemons. Now, if you look at egg yolks, they have a slight skin on them when they come out of the egg. You have to break that down. If you don't break it down, and if I put the sugar right on the egg yolks, you'll get a chemical burn, and the chemical burn will create pockets of crustiness. So I want this to be the smoothest thing possible. So that's why I don't do this on the heat, but I'm gonna turn the heat on to get it ready. And I want a double boiler. I break my egg yolks and whisk, just so I make sure I don't have any lumps when I add my sugar. Now the sugar, I don't just dump it in. I sprinkle it in. Takes a little longer, but it's worth it. It only takes a few seconds longer. But sprinkling it in, if you put the whole thing in one shot, then you will get a chemical burn. And I've done it both ways. So that's 10 egg yolks. It is a lot of egg yolks, but all those egg whites I'm going to save and make meringue. So you use the whole thing. And just like that. Now I clean the edges because that sugar is reacting right now to the egg yolks. So just like that. Now I'm going to take and pour my lemon juice in. This will take a little bit harder to blend it together because it starts falling apart a little bit. There we go. And again, scrape the sides. Just like that. Now the butter, keep off to the side. Martha puts the butter in now. I'm thinking, why do we need to cook the butter? There's no reason. If it's room temperature, we're going to take it in little pieces and put it into it afterwards. So, let's see. Oh, my bowl is too small. So I'm going to get a larger bowl. I think, if I have one. Yep. Always measure your bowl before you start. This way you'll be able to see that it's nice and smooth. And I will scrape this out. Butter is room temperature. You don't want that butter to be nice and hard. And we're going to, exactly how we do a custard, and like we did the other day when we did the pie, the key lime pie, we're going to let this thicken up. So instead of you sit there and wait for me to thicken it up, we'll be right back and I'll show you right before. We've been gone for an hour and a half. It doesn't really take that long. But when I do this in front of people, oh, the steam. Where'd you go? When I, and you can see it's thickened, and I have not put the butter in yet. But when I do this in class, I use a glass bowl. If you want, you can use a metal bowl because it conducts the heat better, and it goes much quicker. I joke about this a lot. I'll say, whenever I'm doing this, you can have your unfavored child, because they're going to lose one arm. It's going to be like this. So I was the only one that cooked in the family, but it's nice and yum. Now I'm going to take that butter off of the heat. I don't need this anymore. Let me put this back here so it stops giving me a
Facial.
Yeah. Okay, so you can see it's nice and creamy, and this will melt quickly. And I don't want to use melted butter. You want to use some solidness to it. This will help cool it down too. And you just stir that in. Put my timer. Yep. My tarts are done. And we'll blend this up. Now, if you're not going to use the tarts right away, make the shells, and you can bottle your lemon curd, which I do that. And every pastry kitchen has raspberry sauce, lemon curd in the refrigerator. You want this to, okay, we've got a few little chunks of butter left. It would take a long time if this is hardened butter, but since it was room temperature, I've just got a few little pieces left. So I'm going to use my French jar, and I will refrigerate it after it cools down. Now, see how runny it is? It will be thick to where I'm going to have to get a spoon in there to pull it out. But you can double this recipe and put it in this jar. This recipe works fine double. You don't have to worry about, in fact, I created this recipe from 100 eggs. And so I took it a 1/10 of recipe. Now all this stuff is good enough for Neil to lick because I know he'll want it. So I'll put it off to the side.
Yum.
Yum. Now this is also good for scones. So you can see that little drip. I don't like that. Let me take that. Now I'm not going to put the lid on it until it cools down completely. I don't want to get a skin. Now you can get, okay, I'm picky. So I'll put this off to the side. So it's one of the gasket ones. Just like that. Okay, so I don't forget it. And then we will put the tart shells together and the lemon curd together after it cools down. And we'll be back to do that as soon as it cools down. See you in a little bit. Okay, our tart shells came out, and like I said, we're gonna let these cool down, and we'll put a can underneath, and the whole side will fall down, and then we'll fill them up in a little while. As soon as they cool down, you don't want to do these hot, and the lemon curd's still hot too, so we'll put it all together in just a few minutes. See you in a little bit. Okay, so we're back with the lemon curd has cooled down, and our lemon tart. And it's funny because I just gave Neil something to eat and it's crunchy, and I can see that he thinks that you can hear the crunchiness. Because the other day, when he was drinking a glass, you could hear the ice jiggling back and forth because he's so close to the microphone. Neil, he's eating cheese sticks now, and you're gonna hear it. You'd think I didn't feed you while we're doing these.
You didn't feed me.
Okay, well anyway. So here's our lemon curd. Here's our tart cooled down. The tart shell came out of the oven. Now, remember I told you, we don't even grease the sides of the pan because they pop it down so quickly. So there's that. And see how the shell does that. And you'll want to wipe this out, throw it in the oven to cool, or to
Dry it.
get all the moisture off of it. And so use a can like that. Don't try to do that with your hand, because if you do that, it kind of messes up. I started our egg whites to make our meringue already, so I'll finish that up. Here's my lemon curd that I refrigerated. And see, now look how thick it becomes. So the other thing you can do with this is take equal parts lemon curd and fresh whipped cream, fold it in, and make it a lemon mousse. And you can fill parfait glasses with that. So we're gonna put this in here. I've also made blood orange tarts. That's very good. Just like that. Then we're gonna take an offset spatula, and I go all the way to the edge. Neil, do you want to get close by and you can see this? So I go all the way to the edge, like that. When I seal it, and if I need a little bit more, but if I'm filling it completely with meringue, but I do want to go all the way to the edge with the cream. That dead center has a little less, so let me put a little bit more in, because we don't want to be chintzy. There we go, just like that. And there is our tart like this. Now, depending on what's going on, what type of dessert I'm making, sometimes I will do chocolate swirls on top of that, but not today. We're gonna do the meringue. And here's our egg whites, and I've also put in here is the cream of tartar. And the cream of tartar goes in at the beginning because you want that the cream of tartar opens up the air pockets so the sugar can go in. Now the sugar is going in now. I don't put it in at the beginning because it takes too long. So now what I do is I just sprinkle it in. And we want this to be kind of a really dry meringue. I call this pie meringue because there's all sorts of different types of meringues to make. And on the meringue sheet, it goes into more detail on the types of meringues and the different uses. So you want this to, doing this by hand instead of the big machine takes a little longer. But I thought, I've got a little time, so I'll do this. Now I'm going to put this in a pastry bag. I'm going to make a nice design. And about 10 years ago, kitchen stores started making available to the consumer little blow torches, little tiny ones. And a few have exploded, I've heard. And I have just a regular industrial one that we use that's about half the price too, that I get at a hardware store. So I'll be using that. Meringue is, you can dry it out a little bit, and you don't want it to be like whipped cream will turn into butter, but this won't. So Anyway, what we're gonna do is we'll finish this up and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay, you can see it's like doing, I call it a motorboat back, and it's staying pretty good. That's where we want. And you can do it also with these. You can see, don't turn it on and pick it up at the same time. You want them to make nice little peaks. So what I'm gonna do, like I said, is put it in a pastry bag and make peaks all over the tart, and then I'm gonna torch it. If you don't have a torch, you can go ahead and use your oven broiler, but it won't be as even as this will. So now let me make one here so you can see how I do it. Then I'll go in a spiral pattern. Well, don't have enough room in the bag. Let me cut the bag a little bit more. Sometimes the tips are different sizes. You have to cut the bag. Hopefully that'll work without too much. Yeah, there. Nope. We want. There we go. We want some design to this. So all I do is go like this, like that. Little kisses, you could say. So I'll do those, and I want to make sure I get the little peak, because that's going to brown nice when I do the tart shell, filled with the lemon, and torch it. Now, if I don't have enough meringue, or I'm making a bunch of these, I'll just do it around the edge like this. If I've made plenty enough meringue like this, I did today, I'll do the whole thing. And you try to do the same size, and you go down and up, and when you pull it up, you'll get that little peak. After you've done the meringue, you don't really want to refrigerate your pastry. Kind of weeps a little bit sometimes. So see how we've got all that in there? Isn't that beautiful?
Pretty.
Alrighty, so now we're gonna do the torch. Now practice before you do this for the first time. I even did that when I turned it on. It has a little locking thing. Woo! That locks it in. Make sure no one's around, and make sure you look around your area to make sure you don't have paper or you burn the produce. Let's do this first one. I know this is plastic, so I'm going to be really careful. But just so you can kind of see, you wiggle it around. See how it browns like that? So you wiggle it. Okay, so Neil, go back because I don't want to get the camera.
I want my eyebrows.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do this side. And you want something that can turn your tart. And let's just say you accidentally stay on one a little too long. You can pull it off with a knife and do it again. You don't have to. But see how you have more control over this than you do if you're doing this. See, this is a little browner than this side, so I'm going to go a little bit more. But fast waves is what you do. And there is your lemon tart. Doesn't that look good?
Pretty.
Looks like I know what I'm doing, huh? Anyway, I'd like to thank you so much today. We did our lemon curd, we made our tart shell, and we did the whole thing together and put the meringue in it. So, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much. Take care, and make sure you check in on your neighbors still. Some states we still have a little quarantine. We're getting a little bit better here, so maybe by next week I'll have my haircut. Take care and have a good one.